Peace, peace, greetings. Shabbat Shalom. So I am Ema Precious, and you are um, seeing me alone. And usually you'd see myself and Sister Deidre, but you only get half of the dynamic duo today. So be kind. Because I've never done this by myself. So I'll just start by saying Shabbat Shalom to Akoti Yeye in the chat. Thank you for being there. I'm going to go ahead and just open up the space first by giving honor and reverence and the abundance of gratitude to the Most High, Yah, for every breath, every opportunity to build together, and every, moment that we have to delve into what it means to be Anu, to understand what biblical righteousness is, and just for life itself. So that is always first and foremost. And second to that, of course, is offering thanks and gratitude to our Chief Jegna, Chief Yuya, for creating a space for us to learn, strive, and thrive in. So thank you, Chief Yuya. You are appreciated. Peace, Safta Arlene. I see you also in the chat. So welcome, welcome. I'm going to jump right into the preface. And you know what? Let me tell you what happened. So I have a version of this like template that I work from, and I went and edited that template, and somehow I deleted the beautiful version of the preface that I usually read from. So today you are not going to get an excerpt. You're going to actually get the entire preface. So Shabbat Shalom, Ema, top tier speaker. So the preface, as read from the Anu Way, says this book is not to be read only once. The words in this volume are delicately selected and implanted as a code to unlock the treasured faculty of our own brain and reaffirm you with the undeniable spirit of reformation and mercy. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. As you apprehend what is departing from your mouth, you will be organized with the environment and body aura with the property of this dedicated text. Understanding is an earned perception. Peace, Shibuya, peace, Abarandi. You may read a section of this tome, and it may not penetrate today. Apprenticeship is for you to reflect on with humility. Discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people. Your grasp of wisdom will not develop in emptiness. When you study this book, you will become enlightened of the ways of Anu. But you must work for your own circumspection by applying what you are being instructed to do. It is only then that wisdom will be yours to stand on with a grip of discernment. This publication should be read daily. Listen to each line and examine it. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. The truth is to be deliberated, and this manuscript provides executable that will one day be your standard of natural sense. So I usually don't read the entire preface when we do our introductions, but today you get the whole thing. So that really sets the tone for what it is to study and begin to understand the Anu Way Foundation, but it also gives you a sense of what the charge is. So there's that. So peace, Master Antonio, Master Menelek. I'm going to use everyone's names as they have been, or attributes as they have been recently given. So before I even get into what happened last time on Shema, I want to just acknowledge the shift because we did not have Shema last strong. Many of the members of Anu actually got the opportunity to get together for about 6 days for a retreat. And it was fantastic. Do you not see the tan? I got a tan, y'all. And it's literally April 1st. And we were not in the Caribbean. We were in Georgia. And that said, we did not have Shema. But what we did have, I should say we did not have a live Shema. We did have Shema and build together in and it was beautiful. A part of that experience was also some of our Anu sisters and brothers received new attributes, or as you may recognize them as new names. And so you may see me referencing familiar names with a different name. So a perfect example of that is Akoti Kashia, who is now on here as Yeye. And Master Antonio is still here as Antonio Smith, but I'll be referring to him as Master Menelek. And there are a few others, but I'll go through those. So I wanted to just acknowledge that. So 2 strongs ago, Akilo and his special guest, Abba Randy, aka Abba Ras Kush, actually opened the way to the section on economy. Peace, Sovereigneets, peace, Imanaya, and I think I said it already, but peace, Chief Yuya. And I think for those who know me, know that I am like so easily distracted. Yay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So see, I'm already distracted. So I thought it was yay. Yay or Yaya. Y'all tell me which one, because I thought you said yay. So I'm gonna go with that. But back to what I was saying. Peace, Akilo. Yes, my name is Precious. It's just me. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm gonna do this. So 2 strongs ago, our brothers introduced the idea of economy. And what they opened with was just acknowledging the faithfulness and how faithfulness connects to the idea of the economy. And so this strong, I'm going to just get right into the second paragraph on economy. And it says, the first component of our economy is our astuteness. Education is the key to wealth. Our first investment should be in our minds. To establish a sustainable economy, we must have portable skills. With wisdom, we can travel the world and see the financial opportunities that exist throughout. Do not hold tightly to the lies that keep you impoverished. To change our positions of wealth, we must change ourselves. To become wise, we must first be humble. The attainment of wisdom is the achievement of wealth. The attainment of wisdom is the achievement of wealth. So, what's wealth? Like, I know it seems like that last line tells us what wealth is, but how do you perceive wealth? You, Anu, you, those that endeavor to one day perhaps be sponsored and become Anu, what is wealth? Yes, thank you, Chief. It's not just me. Y'all are here with me. Thank you. I'm the only one on screen though. There's that. But yes, I am not alone. Y'all are here with me, as said by Michael Jackson. Yes. So what is wealth? how do you perceive wealth? And you, I mean, you can give me back that last line, but I definitely imagine that when you think of wealth, you may not think of wisdom or the attainment of wisdom. Um, I want to just open with that question: what is wealth? And while you all kind of respond, or how do you perceive wealth? While you respond to that, I'm going to just, do what we normally do, which is break down line by line. So, why the attainment of wisdom and not the achievement is what Chief just put in the chat. Hmm. The attainment of wisdom is the achievement of wealth. Hmm. So why the attainment of wisdom and not the achievement? Well, hmm, I don't know. I have to ponder. Are you asking why I posed the question the way that I did? I'm not sure that I understand that question, Chief. Pardon. If you can may clarify. Um, Abundantly prosperous. Okay. So the first component of our economy is our astuteness. So when I read this line, I thought, okay, well, if this is the first component of our economy, um, then what is astuteness? Like how do we use this word? What does it mean? And what I did was I just went to the good old dictionary, right? And it says, astuteness is having or showing a shrewdness or a discernment, especially with respect to one's concerns, right? Or one's own concerns. So um, the origins of the word, or like the root of the word, seems to come from astus, which is the Latin form of the word, and that connects with what? Craft. I thought that was really interesting. And why would that be interesting? Because Chief has said, and it's stated in the Anu way, that the woman is the economy. And he's also said, and we acknowledge that women are very crafty, right? So crafty can, depending on the connotation, crafty can mean many different things. But in this instance, if we're taking the idea of what being astute means, and connecting it to being crafty or craft, it's kind of like how we would use, I'm viewing it as how you would use your talents to create wealth or an economy. So how you use the things around you, or access the things around you wisely in order to fashion an abundant economy for oneself. Or for, really, it's not for yourself, right? It's for your family, it's for your community, it's for the nation that you align yourself with. But all of that from the one word astute. So that's the first line, right? So the first component of our economy is our astuteness. And astuteness would be pretty much the way we use the things around us shrewdly and with this discernment, um, to our benefit. That's really what astuteness is. Um, and I think, it's funny. I was sent a YouTube video today, and it was really talking about Black excellence and how, um, some entrepreneurs really have created wealth or for themselves and for their community by creating different opportunities. And so as I'm reading this line again and I'm thinking about some of those examples, it was about, preparation, timing, and just motion, like moving in that moment. And I can appreciate why this would be the first component of our economy, because this would mean that no matter what's happening, right? We have this idea that if the financial bubble bursts, or if there is a recession, that all dollars are receding. And if we're living according to what this first line says, that isn't necessarily accurate. There are many who, unfortunately slash fortunately, made a lot of money being astute during what some might have called the worst health crisis in a really long time, right? Over the past 2 years being, you know, the big C used to be something else, but now I'll just say the big COV, right? And you can fill in the rest. So before I go any further, I don't want to get like backlogged with this chat. So I'm going to go through it a little bit. Let me just scroll on down. Okay. So Yeye says, obtainment becomes wisdom. Oh, obtainment because wisdom is active and ever moving. Achievement is finite. Answer from Abaras Kush says abundantly prosperous. So that's how I'm imagining you're responding to. That's how you would perceive wealth, as abundantly prosperous. Chief Yuya says wealth is the ownership of a resource. Wealth can be measured in the amount of time one could utilize a resource at their own command without bartering it off. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to like highlight these things. What do y'all think? I don't do any of this. Do I just click it? Should I leave it alone? I think I'm gonna leave it alone because I don't know. Oh, boom! Very proud of myself right now. So there you have it, people. I figured out technology. Okay, it was literally a click of a button, so not very high tech at all. But there you go. Wealth is the ownership of a resource. Wealth can be measured in the amount of time one could utilize a resource at their own command without bartering it off. Mm. Huh. So if I'm understanding this correctly, um, an example of that in, I guess, like a simple example of this would be the amount of money one can accumulate in one's bank accounts and why it would be considered wealth. Because you don't have to use all that money that comes in every month to get all your bills paid, which is why it can accumulate and you don't need to barter it or exchange it for a service that you need or has already been rendered to you, So thank you for that. That makes sense to me. I hope I'm understanding it correctly. And she says, I was asking the question to give others hints to the answer to your question. Don't give them no hints. Then you confuse me. They don't need hints. They got this. But give thanks. We always need a clue. Please, I needed a clue. I was just confused. So Safta Arlene says education is key to wealth. I would agree. Here, let me show. I'm gonna show each one because now I know how to do it. What? All right. So education is key to wealth. She says his answer is continued. A continuation to his answer. Wealth comes by way of an inner process as opposed to riches that can be inherited, won, or even stolen. Wealth is sustainable and thereby perpetual. So then I guess that would then negate what I just proposed as an example. So the true definition of wealth would not be synonymous with the amount of money one can amass in one's bank account. That's a false perception of wealth. I guess I would say then the true wealth would be, the ability to kind of recreate that reality no matter what the circumstances, right? Even if banks no longer had money tomorrow, a person who's still able to create and fashion something through that keen, astuteness is the truly wealthy one. So I think I got that. I think. So Yeye says, wealth is what keeps growing once established. It will grow and continue on and does not need to be handheld after establishing. I would agree. Um, what you're saying reminds me of investments, or a good investment, not any investment, right? But a good investment. This is what happens, right? You, after a while, you cultivate it, um, and then it kind of just, does what it needs to do for you. And Softa Arlene said yes to something. I didn't know what, but she said it. All right. So Master Menelek says to obtain something is that one can gain possession of or retain. Achievement is more like accomplishing something that one may not be able to retain possession of. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of an example of what you're saying here. Um, could you give us an example of how you see this working, Master Antonio? 'Cause I do agree. I'm just not able to like picture an example. I'm thinking of an achievement, like maybe graduating or accomplishing something, and how it would be different than an accomplishment. Well, how an accomplishment would be different than that. Master Menelik also says, like, oh, haha, he gave an example. Let me just stick with the chat. Like achieving a high mark on a test as opposed to obtaining the wisdom of what was taught in class and being able to utilize it in our. Thank you so much. This is why you are Master Menelik. That now I'm crystal clear on what you mean. And I would agree, because if you are, as we experience in, and I'm gonna just warn y'all, this is gonna be like all night, y'all, because I'm on the first line and I'm gonna go through this chat. So what does Chief say? Enjoy the ride, take the, I don't know, whatever. Just ride along. You on a ride along. Just, yeah, you're in the back seat. Just enjoy. Um I I definitely appreciate what the example you gave, because when I think about, teaching to the test, as so many, in the public school system are charged with doing, um, youth don't walk away actually having much by way of wisdom. They have passed the test, but that's about it. But application really isn't necessarily there. So Chief Yuya says wealthy people know where, as rich people have. Wealthy people know where, as rich people have. Inside, okay, okay. Inside of wisdom are the formulas of regeneration, similar to what was discussed last Shema. Give thanks. I think I missed a word in that one, so pardon me. Shabbat Shalom, Sham the Joy. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Ima Akuya. I was just having retreat flashbacks just now, Ima. um, and you know what? What's so beautiful is the sun is still up. It is not even Sabbath yet. And I think it's actually kind of nice to, be doing Shema as the sun is setting. So there's that. All right. Thank you for the tech support. Sham the Joy, I did figure it out. As well as Koti Yeye. So Sovereign Eat says to obtain would indicate yes, just touch the oh, okay. Yeah, I was getting lots of instructions. Oh, thank you. I thought I would blow up the entire thing, Master Menelek. That was my concern. I just didn't want to blow up the live. Okay. But thank you for that. Okay, so Chief gave an example. His example is, I do not need to barter my time for a wage, right? Yeah. Nah, that's a big one right there. I do not have to barter my time for a wage. I have a wealth of time, energy, food, or other commodities at my command. I can take a 12-month sabbatical because I am 12 months wealthy. That's it. Nothing. That's clear. Thank you. Caking. Yes. I don't know what that means. Mm-mm. No comprende. I don't know what that means. IKR. So yeah, you can if you can break that down for me, Akilo, I would greatly appreciate it. And I feel like I should know it, but I don't. So I'm not even gonna. Shabbat Shalom, Safta, Gertrude. Okay, so it's not Yaya, Yaya. Okay, Yaya. Sounds good. I can remember that one too. Yeah. So sure. I'm just going through the chat. There's lots of wait for it, and there we go. So that must have been stuff for me. Okay, so thank you, Akoti Yeye, for the reminder to please like, share, and subscribe. And for right now, oh, and comment. Yeah. And Chief made a correction. Wealthy people know, whereas rich people have. That's the difference. Thank you. Wealthy people equal know, rich people equal have. Okay. Well, thank you for the correction and thank you for the inflection, Master Menelek. It will be yay yay. Yay yay or yeah, yeah, yeah. That's yeah, yeah. But yeah. Whatever works. We're gonna get these names right at some point. Or if I'm the one who's messing it up, I'll get it right at some point. Okay. So Master Akilo says, oh, like when you hear rich people talk about what they have, wealthy people know things that can enrich the next people. It's not finite, but like a level up or a one up, like Super Mario, a one up. Yeah, like a power up, right? Got it. I know, right? Yeah, come on. Just speak. Yeah, speaking words. I would have never gotten I know, right, from that. Okay, it looks like I'm caught up with the chat. Yay. Yay for me. Yay for me. Okay. So the next line says, education is the key to wealth. So if education, so just to kind of go back. So for the first component of the economy is astuteness. And we know astuteness is a shrewd discernment. Then we go into education being the key to wealth. So my question here is, what do you educate yourself in? What do you study? What did you study? What have you been studying? And has it led to wealth, right? That it's you know, it's not a static question. But these are just some of the things that I think about education to draw out from within. To draw out from within. So that's what Chief just said. So based on what Chief just said about, let me see, is it showing? I hit it. All right, there it is. So based on what Chief just said, if education is to draw out from within, um, then how do you do that? How are you doing that? Um, is it a matter of, so then your education can be taking time to meditate, right? And the sun is like right there. But education can be taking time to meditate. That could be a way of drawing out what's within. So that would mean education isn't at all, not even necessarily, isn't at all just and sitting in the classroom and taking notes. It isn't what I used to love to do, which is sitting in my bed and just reading books. It is very difficult to educate yourself. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So educating yourself would be like asking for feedback and then saying, "Oh, I'll go think about that. I'll go dig a little deeper." It's almost like if you could think about it or dig deeper, you wouldn't be here posing these questions. So someone else has to educate you, which I guess would mean that there needs to be a receptivity, right? An openness. So interesting. I'm just responding to what Chief had here. But if education is the key to wealth. So when I read this line, something that came to mind is the idea of how we educate. Of course, as an ima, as a mother, the idea of how we educate our youth, um, or how we cultivate an environment that is educative for our youth. Um, and unfortunately, for many of us, we don't stay at home and homeschool. Um, you know, uh, that and that's unfortunate. That's a poor choice, and it's a choice that I've made actually, and I'll still acknowledge it as a very poor choice because then you your children aren't really being cultivated the right way, right? You almost have to undo what's being done in that environment. So how do you acquire education? What are the things that you use? So, Chief says to draw something out of yourself, you need to be able to separate it from the false aspects of yourself. You have to separate the I from the me. I know I'm not able to do that. So, I'm thankful for the wise headship because we don't even something else that this line made me think of is the fact that we judge from within, right? That I knew makes that we as a community look at one another and keenly make assessments and judgments, um and the value of being receptive to that feedback, because the initial response may be, really, really? Is that what I did? Or is that how I'm presenting? Is that the area that, or it could be something positive, like you're given an attribute and you don't see those things in yourself, yet it is recognized, or it is that is the charge that's being put on you. And the response could be, really? I don't see that. But it's an opportunity to take that education, to take that opportunity to delve deeper, and to explore why this is your charge, why this is the attribute that's connected to you. Um, because those are that is the education that will be like that nugget that gets you, that's the key. That's the key to wealth. So it opens the door. Yeah. So Sham the Joy says, then that explains why community and headship is so important. Yes. Oh, that's what I just said. Yes. That's my takeaway as well, Sham the Joy. That headship, and yeah, the same thing. The headship in the community is there to not necessarily be the mirror, but to understand what's being, it's almost like be that looking glass, like see what's happening with you and reflect perhaps some of it back, but other parts, yeah, almost like stomp it out, eradicate it, because it doesn't do you me good, it doesn't do the community good, and it really doesn't even need to be here. Um and there's like a surrender, a willingness, right? That has to that we each have to come with in order for that to even happen. At least at least that's what I'm thinking. And Sovereign Eats says, since education is to draw out, then this indicates that there is another who is more advanced that facilitates this education or that pulling out. Right, right, right. But some reason with this draw out, it's kind of like what comes to mind is for me is the idea of cultivating gifts, right? As a parent, and it's not just parents. I think that we all do it when we interact with youth. You may see something in a youth or even in an adult, sometimes you see something in them that they may not see in themselves. And so then you create opportunities for them to step into what you may perceive as something really cool that they could do, or a skill that they may have, or a talent that they, may not recognize, but clearly exude. So Master Menelik says, true, Koti Shamanique. Also let me click it. Also the humility to accept what that headship is disclosing to you. We're going to get into humility very, very soon. Absolutely. Humility, receptivity, right? So important. So important. Dare I even say trust? Trusting that what's being offered is not just what's being given. It's not, well, it is an offer. What's being given is coming from is coming from a place of discernment. It's coming from a place of wisdom, and acknowledging, I guess the humility would be just recognizing that you don't see the back of your neck, period. So if I point something out, or if someone who is, well, not me, but if your headship points something out, take it gracefully and with humility and gratitude. Indeed. So I don't remember if it's yeah or yeah, but Akoti says, education requires receptivity as well. Are you merely memorizing the answers or receiving the knowledge to apply? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Right. Trust and faith. Yeah. Trust and faith. So I'm just going to move on to the next line, which says, to establish a sustainable economy, we must have portable skills. What are portable skills? Yeah. What are portable skills? That's what I would like to know. So while you all respond to that, I'm going to just share a little bit about my thoughts regarding the economy. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to go to the chat. So Akoti Shamanique says, definitely at dawn. It's kind of cool that education means drawing out, because that means those traits are already present. Right. Yeah, I was thinking that too. But need to be activated via humility. I would say via humility and a lot of other, right? Via humility, receptivity, obedience, application, correction, because the assertion that even if you're humble, that you'll get it right the first time, or that you'll, just master it off the rip is, I would imagine, often inaccurate, right? Um, yeah. And Chief says, if you do not take instruction from the head, it is not your head. You're probably you are probably occupying the seat occupying the seat of consciousness that the appropriate body for the head needs to. Hmm. If you do not take the instruction from the head, it is not your head. You're probably occupying the seat of consciousness that the appropriate body for the head needs to. Yeah. So that ain't your head, pretty much. Um, that's interesting. That that's really interesting, Chief. And I know in this example we're referring to headship. And in my mind, I'm envisioning, man being head, woman being a body. But I'm also, as far as that, occupying the seat of consciousness that the appropriate body for the head needs, I'm also thinking about a community, how if you're not able to take instruction or to align oneself within a community, how that may not be your community, which is why you just can't come under the governance of it seamlessly. It just, I don't know, just sparked a thought about, sometimes a person's resistance is just maybe something in them that's saying, this ain't it. Like, you may want it to be it, but this is not it for you. And how that may apply. Um, peace, peace, Shirla. Peace to you. May you participate. Of course, you can participate. We're here live on YouTube. All are welcome to participate. So, welcome to this space. Yes. Okay, and then let's see. So Chief says also education add-on. Imagine drawing something from a well. So pull it up at the well, and it is not your present, but a potential. What happens if that element is not drawn out and stays in the well for too long? Hmm. It is not present, but a potential. Imagine drawing something from a well. It is not present. Well, what happens if that element is not drawn out and stays in the well for too long? It loses its potency, right? So if it's potential, over time, I would imagine, like, potential isn't like fine wine. It does not get better with time. It actually, and I see Sister Shamanique said it below. It goes rancid. Yeah, I would say rancid, or like what happens with soda or champagne or anything like fizzy. It loses some of what it should have. It loses its potency. It loses something, and what it loses actually takes away from its ability to, like, break forth or spring through. And I guess I could just use champagne as an example, right? When you pop that cork, depending on how much pressure you create by moving things around, it'll fly off, right? The cork flies. But if you try to save it for like later or the next day, It's kind of flat. Um, I don't know. That's the example that came to mind as far as what would happen. So, bear with me here. So let's see. Goes Rand said, everyone's welcoming Cheryl in. Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so Chief says, if you cannot take instructions from the community you identify with, you are not in that community. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Consider the body of Christ. You are truly in the body if you are willfully. Oh, are you truly in the body if you are willfully disobedient? Right. So the answer would be no. You are not truly in the body if you are willfully disobedient. Okay. Yeah. It just that. Yeah. Thank you for that. I was making the connection between that head, the community head, as opposed to the individual. So yeah, thank you. Um, and Akotsi Yaya says, it will lie dormant, be forgotten or lost. And she's responding to the question that Chief posed regarding pulling something out of a well, that's been in there for a long time. And then Chief says, right, it loses its potency value and could even poison the well water. Ah, yeah. Yeah, this makes me think of women after 22, 23, 24. How we lose our, and I know we use that water well example for women quite regularly. So maybe, it should have connected immediately. But when I think about losing our potency, our value, or even poisoning the well water, think about how many, well, I'm thinking about how that all connects with, I'll say, my experience. You know, you don't get the education, you don't get the headship for whatever reason, whether it's disobedience or your bloodline's disobedience, so you don't get that headship and you lose potency. And by the time you're 30, 35, 40, 45 even, your value, your stock is just like, pew. Well, I guess we'll go this, there we go. It just goes down. It just plummets. And while it's plummeting, I would say you're interacting with other women, you're interacting with girls, you may even be rearing and attempting to raise daughters. But what you're pouring into them and what you're filling them with, because you don't have headship or because you're disobedient to your headship, could very well be or is that poison. That's pretty messed up, actually. Now that I'm like connecting all these dots, that's unfortunate. So thank you for that, Chief. So Savin Eat says that element can become calcified almost or hardened and untappable. It is no longer potential, but missed opportunity. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Missed opportunity. So missed opportunity to come under headship, or a missed opportunity, as a teen, maybe to be obedient to the headship that you already have as a youth, and just kind of how that carries through as a series of missed opportunities. I would agree. Oh, I just did something. Dang nabbit. Okay, there we go. So this is how insanity can begin and continue when not drawn out. Yes. Well, the insanity, I would say the insanity begins when we're brought into a reality of cross-cultural union where fatherless homes, matriarchal systems, like the insanity begins so much sooner than wasted potency. But I would agree that it continues because of our resistance for education to be drawn out of us. And Safta Arlene says, like a branch that falls from the tree, it dies out because and becomes wood for the fire. Right. And I like how you did that, Safta. I know what you did there. Right. Because as the women, we are those branches, right? We are supposed to kind of stretch off, not kind of, we're supposed to stretch off and branch off from our original rootage, our original rooting, and connect, and connect and do other things with another builder. Um, But if we don't, then yep, we fall to the ground, wither, and die, and willfully maybe become wood for the fire. At least then, well, yeah, I'll just leave it there. Chief says, Matthew 7:21-23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? Yeah, this is answering that question about community. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. So give thanks for that, Chief. So right. So you can like chill up in a community and do I'm going to just, presuppose that this scripture is supporting the idea that you can remain in a community or attempt to remain um under headship but be disobedient. But ultimately, what happens, as evidenced by this particular series of scriptures, is that you should understand that that's recognized in that scene, and there is a point where no, you don't. You don't get to continue to, you don't get to open that next door, because that lawlessness is what determines those who are truly set apart from those who refuse to set themselves apart. Because while Chief spoke about education being drawing out, the educator, I imagine, can only draw out, but then at some point the person has to do something with that. They have to take action, and that's our charge, right? Our charge as women in particular, right? Just not just because it's been said, but just by way of how our body is structured. Um, we take things in, and then whether it's then gestate and bring forth life, but we take in ideas and germinate them and hold them in our womb space and then create something different. It's just what we do. That's a part of that craftiness or that astuteness that we opened up we open this up with. I'll read these last few comments and then I'm gonna go back over to my lines here. So Akilo says, my Baba always quoted that verse. Always quoted that verse. Yeah. Shirley says, during this time, I see how important it is to listen and adhere to the word of God. I'm nothing without it. Yeah. Yeah. Softest Arlene says that opportunity may never come around again. Yep. So now you're left with whatever you can get. Say it again. You're left with whatever you can get. Not only are you left with whatever you can get, you're left with whatever little bit of potential you have yet to squander. So it's kind of like you're formed with 12 diamonds and I don't know, and you like lose one every however many years. And it's just like eventually you're not going to have anything. Like you're not going to have anything worth even offering to anyone. And then what do you do? Who knows? Peace, Rika Shai. And she says, the word of Yahweh Shai is truth. Without truth, we are unrealized shells of meat with no defined spark or animation. W3. W3 are essential golem without truth, the way, and the life. We are, pardon. We are essentially golem without truth, the way, and the life. Okay, thanks. All right. So we didn't really delve too much into portable skills. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about that. So the fourth line says to establish a sustainable economy, we must have portable skills. We know that the woman is the economy, and we've already touched on the idea of being astute or crafty. Later in these lines, Chief goes into, being able to, well, the next line, being able to travel the world and see the financial opportunity that exists throughout. I think there are so many examples of, just in that line alone, we should be able to understand what portable skills are. So portable skills from the perspective of a woman in the homestead. So what I tend to think of are the many ways that we need to morph and change and adapt in order to satisfy whatever the need is in the moment. As a mother, in one moment, you may need to be that nurturer. In another moment, you may need to be the disciplinarian. To a junior woman, you may need to be that teacher. And just being able to kind of ebb and flow and shift. But portable skills also, I think a great example of that, there were many during COVID where companies may have started out doing one thing, but their shops were shut down because they couldn't do that thing. And they had to reinvent themselves. They had to transport their skills or transport their knowledge base or transfer or make shifts in order to do something else. And again, that takes me back to that level of astuteness, just being able to appreciate what the moment calls for and shift and morph into what's needed in that moment. So I don't know what y'all's thoughts are about portable skills and how you need that in order to have a sustainable economy. But that's my take on it. Yes. Yeah. Let's get into it. So wealth is a wise woman. A wise woman is filled with knowledge. She is wisdom personified. So the attainment of knowledge is the key / principle of wealth. So the attainment of wisdom is the key and principle of wealth. That's interesting. Okay. So wealth is a wise woman. So attaining a wise woman is attaining wealth. That makes me think of the Proverbs 31 woman. Yeah, indeed. Indeed it does. And all of the things that she is, she does, you know, particularly, I don't know, it's been on my mind a lot, like surveying the land and knowing what to buy from what not to buy. And it's like, yeah, it's very interesting stuff. All right. Wealth is owning and management of resources, raw sources, or source of light. She becomes a center where others can source my light, where others can source my light, the well. She becomes a center where others can source my light. Right? So by virtue of that wise woman being receptive, a receptive vessel, right? Well, she can only be a wise woman if she is, in fact, a receptive vessel. Then she becomes that incubator of light. She becomes that light that's reflecting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. So Safta says, I remember selling dinners to make money, so cooking skills were helpful. Right. And even with the cooking skills, you still had to have a sense of um, more than just cooking skills, right? You had to promote, you had to appreciate where to get like make wise purchases and be very shrewd with how you spent your money. And you needed to understand how much food you needed to buy and then how much each meal should cost. So there's a lot more that went into that, I would imagine, Safta, than just cooking skills, right? That was just like one piece of it. But I definitely understand the example. Thank you very much. So, Master Menelik says portable skills are a good example of obtaining wisdom as it can help us to adapt and add value to any space we may find ourselves in. Yeah, it'll help us add value to any space, but also to illuminate our value in a space, illustrate, that's a better word, illustrate our value in a space. So you come into a space, you see a need and you fill that need, then that space views you as value adding. Yeah. And valuable. So you're adding value, but then through that, you know, yeah. Yeah, thank you. I always imagined a wandering swordsman who was also a skilled blacksmith. Right. Uh, I get it. And top tier say, yes, the woman of valor comes to mind. Yes, indeed, indeed. Like, share, and comment, please. Thank you. Chief says, I'm not sure if you are asking me or the room about the crabs in the bucket, but can you provide context for the question, Shirla? Okay, so we'll wait for that response. And I'll move to line number 5. With wisdom, we can travel the world and see the financial opportunities that exist throughout. So I kind of touched on this already. Um, if our intention, oh, let's see what Chief has here before I go into that. So it says, I see portable skills as those that can be scaled across different industries. Yep. If I'm skilled at managing the resources of people, I can work in many different industries where people are a resource. Right. So, with wisdom, we can travel the world and see the financial opportunities that exist throughout. So, like I said, we touched on this quite a bit. Um, the charge is like to ensure that we're keenly observing and really looking for those opportunities. Again, it's kind of like how we need to flip what we're told in the world, right? So I used to travel a lot. I won't say a lot. I used to travel, but my focus was always on vacating. I wanted a beach, I wanted to lay up, I wanted to relax. My desire was never to kind of assess how I could be valuable or add value or create opportunities, financial opportunities to expand myself in any of those areas. Although those opportunities were there, but it wasn't even my focus. So that was extremely unwise, right? Yeah, that's something that comes to mind. So the next line says, do not hold tightly to the lies that keep you impoverished. This seems to connect in my mind with what Chief said about, education being the act of drawing out. So you may come into a space and say, my life is in shambles. I really, really want to grow and thrive and learn in this space. But as soon as the first little bit of this is what you need to work on, you need to address, you need to fix, comes up, you retreat. Because it's easier to hold tightly to the lies. Not recognizing, but then again, you do recognize that it keeps you impoverished. But in that moment, when it's between choosing something new or holding on to your lie, impoverished just doesn't seem that bad. I'm not really that poor. I'm not really lacking that much. I can't really be that bad. It's not exactly what they're saying it is. They're just picking on me, being mean. These are the stupid things that we tell ourselves. These are the lies that we tell ourselves, or that our brain may tell us. Reasoning with dysfunction. Exactly. If you can even call it reasoning. Sometimes it's just reacting or responding. There is no reasoning even in there. Yeah. So that's really, I think line number 6 doesn't even need much deliberation, right? It's do not. It's straight up instruction, direction. Do not hold tightly to the lies that keep you impoverished, which means you need to actually know the lie from the truth and how that lie is impacting you. So even in that, there needs to be some honesty. But as Chief said earlier, we really can't educate ourselves. So who needs to be honest? The people around you need to be honest with you. All you need to do is be receptive. And of course, I'm speaking to who I can speak to, which are the women. So all we need to do is be receptive. Yeah. So I'm gonna move on. Oh, I see. Wait, I see a few comments. Pardon. Let me not move on. Not yet. Okay, so Okotieye says, portable, able to be moved and placed in different dynamics. Yeah. Like to transport, move it around. Let me move down. So Ima Top Tier says, I was looking into the Esther Kylie, Women of Valor. Yeah. Did I pronounce that wrong? I'm sure. Kyle. Women of Valor, and found that it's a portion of Proverbs 31 that was sung at the beginning of Sabbath as a way to give honor to the mother or matriarch of the family. Good, thanks. I thought that was interesting. Why did you think that was interesting? Ema Top Tier. The fact that it was acknowledging the matriarch, or for some other reason. I just wanted to be sure that I understood. But I would agree, the piece that I find intriguing is that that it was sung at the beginning of Sabbath, giving honor to the mother or the matriarch. But I think another part of me is just like, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Because while even with Anu, yes, we know that the hierarchy is patriarchal. Um, the women have a charge, have a clear responsibility, and it's not small. Um, yeah, it's not small at all. And so I think there is lots of honor to being a righteous woman, and to the weight that that carries and that you're charged with carrying. So yeah, in another way, it's like, oh wow, that's interesting. But then it's like, well, yeah, it makes sense. Um, so I wonder how you were acknowledging it being interesting. So Shirley says, to Chief, the crabs in a bucket comment, interference from Elder Mama Arlene. Oh, in reference to Elder Mama Arlene about being left with whatever you get after you mess up an opportunity. Yeah, I don't know if I would agree that that would be like crabs in a barrel. Um, the missed opportunity, yeah, I agree that often, and I know I touched on it often. The You're almost incubated in an unfortunate series of missed opportunities, yes. But Chief has touched on it before, and I would definitely agree. When I think about my life journey, there were many acts of clear defiance and disobedience that had nothing to do with the other crabs in the barrel and whether they were trying to pull me down or not. It had to do with my own um lack of obedience and disregard for righteousness, right? Which is choosing to do what is right. Um, yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily align with that statement. So Master Menelik says, agreed, Ema Precious. It's less devastating to an ego to tuck tail, yeah, to tuck tail and double down on insanity than to acknowledge what a mess we have made of our lives. Right, but to not tuck your tail and acknowledge is to just say, yeah, I want more mess, right? And then that kind of makes me the more mess, the wanting more mess piece of it um takes me to the idea of not casting one's pearls onto swine. So if you decide that yes, my life is a sloven mess and I'm down here in the dirt with the pigs, but I don't want to come up because coming up is too hard, then hey, I'm just going to move on. So Chief says impoverishment relates to an inner state of being which reflects outwardly. Mhm. Law of correspondence. Drawing nothing but soot and mud from your well because they refuse to allow light in, holding tightly to self imposed injury. Right. Drawing nothing but soot and mud from your well because you refuse to let light in. So the light is that purifier, right? That fire. So it's like you need that fire to boil the water to get it pure again. And you're like, well, I need the water. I'm thirsty, right? I'm thirsty, but fire is hot and the water has to boil in order to be purified. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Yeah. No soot and no mud for me. That's for sure. Thank you for that. Thank you, Shirla. I'll move it. Okay, I'll move it to the way I let that. Yeah. Okay. So off the okay, pardon me. Shirla says, when being challenged, the ego can rise quick, even when you think you have it under control. Hmm. When being challenged, the ego can rise quick, even when you think you have it under control. Yeah, this what you're saying here reminds me of the of Mind Heart Words and how important it is that we, you know, are cognizant of our thoughts and how they create emotions and then corresponding outward expressions of said emotions. Um, and so I think even starting with the perception that your ego is being challenged um, necessitates a response. Is a response other than surrender is where things may shift. But but yeah, I found so Ema top tier says I found it interesting that it was sung at the beginning of Sabbath. That's all. Okay, I understand. Give thanks. True that in control looks completely out of control to those viewing with the eye of Yah. hmm Well, oftentimes wanting to be in control, I found in my personal experience, um, attempting to be in control in and of itself is a response and a yielding to one's ego. You need it to be how it's been for all this time. So that goes back to do not hold tightly to the lies that keep you impoverished. I know this is wrong. I know I've done this before. I've seen this before, but I want it how I imagine it should be and not how it actually is. It doesn't work like that. It's not how it goes. Oh, what does Chief say? Let's see. He says thinking you have ego under control isn't yeah, is an egoic thought within itself. Ego is not subdued by humans. Ego is outshined by the presence of Yah in the individual. Again, the submission to light. Yeah. Okay. Having portable. So let's see. Ema top tier says having portable skills allows you to transfer those skills into different works you may choose to do. Yeah, exactly. Give thanks. Thirsty, but don't want the refinement, fire of the boiling. Yep. As it is a discomfort to my emotional body. Water. Yeah. Yes. That's it. That's it right there. Yep. Because we know fire is masculine and water is feminine. So it's like you have dirty water, but you don't want it to be purified. You don't want it to be refined. So it'll only get more and more polluted. That's the unfortunate reality. And over time losing more and more of its value or potency. Better boil better boil better boil that water if you don't want the BGs. I know what BGs are, but thank you for putting it there for those who do not. I'm not going to read it. Yeah, you don't want to make yourself sick. And I'd imagine you don't want to make those around you sick either, right? Because that's the thing about, anyway, I'm not even going to, yeah. Okay. Oh, let me show it. So Chief says, people will look right in the face of their historical patterns of self-sabotage and destruction and just keep pulling that casino slot machine. One more again. Just one more again. What we gonna get? One more again. It's not gonna change. I mean, you may get, is it sevens? You may get those 3 sevens, or you may get jackpot, or you may get the cherries, whatever. Things may line up every once in a while just to keep you hooked. But the reality is 9 out of 10 times you're going to get what you've been getting, which is destruction and all that comes with it. All right. So the next line says, to change our positions of wealth, we must change ourselves. I feel like we're already talking about all of this, right? So to change our positions of wealth, we must change ourselves. And if we can't educate ourselves, I'm pretty confident we can't change ourselves. We can will to surrender to change, and yield to those changes. But what do y'all think? Come on. Since Chief said I'm not here alone, I'm going to deliberate with all of you in the chat. And I'm up to date. So that's a good thing. Okay, so Chief says, this is what keeps us locked into patterns of poverty. There is an inner emptiness and deadness you will even see in the eyes of the rich and poor. Yeah. Spiritual wealth means no regeneration of life. That says spiritual wealth. I don't know. Means no regeneration of life. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe unspiritual wealth. I'm not sure. But yes, there is a deadness. You know, what's interesting is no spiritual wealth. Okay, no spiritual wealth means no regeneration of life. Yeah. You can see this. You can see this in lots of, dare I call them, celebrities. You can, if you haven't taken notice, if you go and look at like a particular, especially, I find it especially noticeable in melanated, heavily melanated celebrities. If you see them early on in their career, there's like brightness and liveliness and life that they exude. But it almost appears to me as if through time and whatever they have to do in order to whatever they have to do to compromise themselves, perhaps for that success, there's like a vacancy in the eyes and in the affect that's really, really clear. I don't know. Am I the only one who's like noticed that? Yeah. Without spiritual wealth, which is sustaining, there is no truth, life, or way to ascertain, to ascension that is regenerated. This is just a pervasiveness of dead ends. Without spiritual wealth, which is sustaining, there is no truth, life, or way to ascension that is regenerated. So you're not able to climb the chain. You're not able to be reformed without spiritual wealth. There is just a pervasiveness of dead ends. So it's like you're just kind of walking through that same maze. That's interesting. You know, I think I see your comment down there, Master Mena. Like, I do think that it's more than just full of youthful hopes and dreams. Yeah, I'm sure that's a part of it. But what I'm referring to is more like the how spirit-filled they enter with, how spirit-filled they enter into that world or that realm, right? How spirit-filled they are when they enter into that realm. That's how that sentence should flow. Versus how much of their spirit they sacrifice. Yeah, simple. How much of that spirit they sacrifice. They choose to sacrifice, similar to how we choose on a smaller scale to placate the ego knowing what it will cost. Yeah. So again, to change our position of wealth, we must change ourselves. The next line says, to become wise, we must first be humble. So we've spoken a lot about humility. Um, yeah, we've spoken a lot about humility and its relationship to wisdom. And the last line says, the attainment of wisdom is the achievement of wealth. The attainment of wisdom is the achievement of wealth. So that's so the formula, because this was definitely a formula, and I really will that you all go back and read these 9, and there are 9 lines here. Come on, like how can this not be a formula? How can this not be a formula? There are 9 lines, right? We know from start to finish. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. The beginning starts with the first component being astuteness. Then we go into education. Then we go into investments into our mind being where we should first invest. We need to be able to move about and have portable skills as we traverse. Accept the truth and shift and change accordingly, right? I'm just kind of going through and looking at the formula. In order to change our positions of wealth, we must change ourselves. So that means we can't be crystallized. Like I know line number 6 says, do not hold tightly to, or sentence, do not hold tightly to the lies that keep you impoverished. But those lies that keep you impoverished could very well be connected to the previous line, right? Where you may travel and you may say, oh, I love it living in Belize. I've got my businesses going. I've got, my family. I've got all of these wonderful things. I've got community. But there may be a charge to shift. At the point that you don't shift when you're charged to, is that you holding tightly to a lie and that may keep you impoverished? The lie may be, we got it great here. But the truth may be you had it great and now you're being instructed to move forward. The moment you don't, you're crystallized, right? You're locking yourself into what is probably a lie. So that's when it's time to change your position. Change yourself. Be willing to continue to climb that chain. And I want to acknowledge that I'm speaking to me. I'm gonna do another Michael Jackson quote. I'm speaking to the woman in the mirror. Because it's easy to speak to others, but the reality is I didn't want to do SHEMA by myself. Period. I don't do SHEMA by myself. I always have a partner. I don't like doing lives, period, much less by myself. But there was a requirement for me to make a change. And you got to yield to that. You have to do what the moment requires of you. And why? Because I was holding tightly to a lie that says, oh, it's not gonna be as fun. It's not gonna be as fluid. I thought it was a little bit fun. It was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you all, but it was definitely fun for me. And then that goes right to line number 8. To become wise, you must first be humble. Humbly accept that if this is the charge, then you're going to do it and you're going to do it well. And accept that you have all that you need in that moment, right? And through the attainment of that wisdom, which we know we have to apply knowledge, right, in order to get to wisdom. So that's the attainment. We achieve wealth. And the wealth or the abundance is that understanding, right? The abundance is our bloodline being extended. So even the 120 or the supreme mathematics in here is like impeccable. I hope you all see it because I'm not gonna sit here and like break it on down, but it's here. That's all I'm gonna say. So I'm gonna go back to the chat before we get ready to close out. If we're closing out, that is, as I know. So Master Menelik says, your reference to dead ends made me think of a series of acknowledgments as opposed to evolving what we've obtained, and that's to Chief. Chief put in Romans 6:9, knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more. Death hath no more dominion over him. So without the consciousness of the Christ, I am dominated by death, a zombie. Oh, wow. Mm. So if you are not Christ-filled, if you are not, oh, man, dang it. I don't even want to. Wow. Okay. That was a good one. I feel like how yeah. Akoti Maria, Sister Makshes. Sometimes. Yeah, that I'm gonna move on. That was give thanks. That was deep. I'm gonna have to study that line, deliberate on that line after I log off. Oh, Chief says, you do Shema with us. You're on screen with yourself, sure. Now you are a new person as you're pushed past, latent perspective of, yes, this is true. This is true. Yes. And thank you all for being here with me, for sure. I'm not going to sing this line, but thank you. Thank you, Master Menelik. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself. You got to. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That was, I'm not singing it. I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to sing it. I'm talking to the, all right. Is it talking to? I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm looking at, I'm talking to. Yeah. There you go. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make the change. That's the point of the rhyme. You got to get it right. Don't take your time. Something about your mind. But anyway, so that's what I have. The people want the song. I ain't got no song. Thank you. Thank you. Akilo. There you go. He's singing it right down there. Yep. I'm asking him to change his ways. Yes, I know. I do know the song. Yes. I'm not gonna sing. But anywho, thank you so much. This was really, really I liked building with you all. This was really good. So we will be back, of course, next strong. Let's see. It should be Master Menelik up next strong. Of course. Nana, nana, nana. It's okay. You're literally up next. And see, I'm so gracious. I won't taunt you. But Master Menelik is up next strong with our next Shema build. Of course, we'll continue in economy. Of course, feel free to go to honolifeglobal.org. I got that. Look at that, Jeremiah. Peace, Jeremiah. Starting with the man in the mirror. You came in at the end and came right through. That's right. You starting with the man in the mirror. He will be singing. How dare you put a disclaimer? How dare you? I'm gonna make sure all of my responses are like songs, just straight up and you know, I know lyrics to just about every song I hear. So I'm just going to respond in nothing but lyrics with the music notes to match. But yes, download the Anu Way. Of course, we know it is available for free. Also, if you are interested in being sponsored or being considered for sponsorship, please also go into anulifeglobal.org, and you know there's an Anu Womb and an Anu Man portal. You can apply. If you're mated, it's important to recognize that if you're mated as a woman, you definitely want to your mate, your master needs to apply as well, because that's your headship, right? You go where the head goes. So just want to acknowledge that. There are Anu Youth Initiative courses coming soon, so look out for that on our website. And there are always things percolating. So we've got another retreat coming up really soon. That's going to be so much fun. The first one was, it was just, I don't think I've laughed that much since probably I was like 12 years old. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the chat. I'm glad that you all enjoyed this. It is now, the sun has now officially gone down, so I can now truly say Shabbat Shalom, peace Anu. Give thanks, Chief Yuya. Give thanks to you all. And yeah, Akoti saying yes to the retreat. So I'm going to end this. Have a great evening, all. Peace, peace. Oh, and Ramadan. Yes, how can I forget as I continue to dim my light because it's like blinding me. Ramadan. Of course, those of us who are Anu, we know that we observe and honor this month of Ramadan. So fasting shall commence. Download those apps. Big up to Master Menelek for sharing. You know that there are a wealth of apps that will tell you your prayer times if you're praying and your fasting schedule, because you are fasting. And with that, yes. Okay, let me just read because this is important what Chief just said here. Yes, women, you cannot coerce your boyfriend/husbands to sign up. We desire no pouting grown males sitting in the corner with their arms folded. That's how all the men in my grandma's church used to look. They did not want to be there unless it was for the barbecue. We don't want that in our new, right? We don't want that in our new. That is funny. Yes. So we are, what is it, Ramadan Kareem. I believe that's how we greet one another during Ramadan, and Ramadan has officially commenced, if I'm not mistaken. It's at sundown today. So yeah. All right, with that, Shabbat Shalom, peace Anu, and peace everyone that spent time with us this evening. Give thanks.